the neuroscientists, for me, what they're saying, I totally agree. I mean, the science shows that. But when it comes to alignment, what it is it lets you know the more you stick to it and you hone yourself, your brain and your body will start supporting you on your journey. Rather than be an adversary that's fighting against you all the time, they'll help you stay aligned, right? If you just have to train it, you have to stick with it.
So, how does alignment deal with the concept that your brain makes a decision before you are consciously aware of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because one of the arguments of a neuroscientist is, hey, bud, the evidence we have is that your brain has made a decision and then you become consciously aware of it later. So what you're talking about with this alignment stuff, well, your brain's already decided. And I spend a lot of time thinking about this because it's kind of a weird thing. And what I realize is that neuroscientists they break things down, right? We call them reductionists in a way, and they have to do it because of the way their equipment works and the technology works, and they're coming up with a hypothesis that they can test. And this makes for certain limitations. So one of these limitations is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make you, what they do is they make it so they put you in an fMRI machine, they make you make a decision, and they see that your brain activates before you're consciously aware, before you can vocalize the decision you're making. And they can determine what decision you're making based upon what your brain's saying before you make it. And they can see that your brain's aware of it before you are. Your brain is activated before you're consciously aware of it. And I said, yes, this is brilliant. This is a great example of your brain doing stuff, your habitual brain doing stuff, including making decisions. But what they can't do is they can't look at a time sequence. So they can't, for example, say, okay, well, who I decided I'm going to be is love or is compassion. And my brain is trained that way. And then when I get to the point of having to make that decision, my brain is habitually used to making it in a particular way. So then it makes it. And then I become consciously aware of it. So for me, this decision that you're making, and that's part of the point of going through this process and going through the course and practicing your being, and why I've created online tool sets and that, is your brain and your body, it's a tool. You're not your brain and your body, you have one, but it is your tool. And our tool is a lot of the times helping us survive, right? This brain and the body, they keep us alive, right? If there's a snake on the ground and we jump away, that's a good thing. And your brain's doing it automatically. You don't want to be necessarily having to wait for conscious awareness to determine that that's a dangerous snake that I should jump away from, or a dangerous spider that I should jump away from. Your body takes care of you on its own, right? Your it's really efficient. It's been, it's evolved over millions of years in order to keep you alive. And that's great. That's what it's supposed to do, right? And that's good. But when it comes to wanting to program it to make it a tool for you, to keep you consistent, this is where alignment comes in. So you start off with your declaration, then you stick to it over a period of time, and you actually train your brain and your body to automatically and habitually be consistent. If you look at, for example, Mother Teresa or Nelson Mandela, or a lot of our role models that have kept up over a long period of time, to say, wow, this person is somebody who's really aligned in their life. They are who they are, despite the situation and circumstances. You can apply that title to a lot of people, but it's not like they were born that way. They, through what they've decided, trained themselves over time to then habitually have those reactions, to have those ways, so that their brain automatically supported them in the process. Your brain and your body is your tool, but you have to hone it to be that way. And most of us are unhoned, right? Or we're honed maybe in bad ways. A sports person, we're not surprised when we see somebody who wants to play football or basketball or whatever, that their body is honed, specialized for that skill set, specialized for that sport, right? And we're not surprised about that because they spend the time and the energy and the effort building their body that way. Well, it's the same with alignment. You're spending the time, the energy, and effort to build your body that way. So then, yes, they put you in the fMRI machine, and then they'll be surprised. Oh, wow, look. When they give them this decision, they always make a decision that's based on compassion or generosity, and they do it before they're consciously aware of it. Because what you've done now is you've honed that meat brain of yours in order to be able to stay aligned, even when you're not paying attention. You don't have to hone it as much anymore because it's already trained. And our brains are trained that way. So it's not surprising that they find it, but just they can't check a time series of that. They can't look at you over your whole life and say, okay, well, when they were a baby, they had this. And then that's trained their brain through their whole life. So then they were going to make a decision about this because their brain's habitually patterned in that way. So the neuroscientists, for me, what they're saying, I totally agree. I mean, the science shows that. But when it comes to alignment, what it is it lets you know the more you stick to it and you hone yourself, your brain and your body will start supporting you on your journey. Rather than be an adversary that's fighting against you all the time, they'll help you stay aligned, right? If you just have to train it, you have to stick with it.
Right. Like you prefer to write a book than do meditation.
Actually, in the course, we have a whole part about mindful meditation.
Okay.
Right? So mindful meditation is actually a part of it. And we talk about all the ways that the science shows that meditation itself changes the underlying substrate of your brain. And in fact, in the course we have, I want to have the self-regulation set, which is about how to build your self-regulatory ability up. And there's two parts. One is the meditation portion of it. And there's a whole bunches of different parts of your brain that mindfulness meditation helps to change. And that's changing the underlying substrate of your brain so your brain can support you. But there's a second part about your stories. And it's about looking at the stories that you tell yourself in your life. And then from those stories, we actually work on, okay, are those stories supporting me or not? And then we work upon changing those stories or building new stories that more suit alignment in your life. And some of that's based upon, there's this Yerkes-Dodson curve where you have a kind of like stimulus and performance. And as you push somebody, as people get more stressed, their performance increases to a point, and then it decreases at one point because it's too much. But you can actually extend this with different stories. And we know it all the time. We watch motivational videos on YouTube or anything to push people. So there's two parts to this that help you work with your brain. One, the underlying substrate, which is mindfulness meditation. And one, the software part, which is the stories. So we work on both of those in order to help you reprogram your brain, reprogram the way you go so that you can stay aligned with who you decided you want to be.
Interesting. Yeah, I find that this is very important as well to have to bring order, which is also important through verbally, but also with the techniques of meditations.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple problems with meditation. Meditation is boring for people, so the dropout rates are pretty high. And I think part of that is what we've done is we looked at the Jon Kabat-Zinn school, which is brilliant, by the way. Like what that man did for meditation in the West was intelligent, it was smart, it was scientifically founded, and he's done a brilliant job. But what he's done is he's kind of focused it a bit in one area, which is pain. That's where he started. And now it's spread to a lot of different areas. But people think meditation is, right? Meditation is this because that's what they've been told. The same with yoga. Western yoga is very different than the Eastern yoga. And when Western yoga is about kind of like exercise, whereas Eastern yoga is not about exercise at all, they're totally disconnected. So one of the things that I encourage people to do is to look at different types of meditation that can be done and find a meditation that works for them or a series of them that work for them, but really understand what is meditation because the dropout rate in the Western world is so terribly high. And it's such a useful process. When you look at all the benefits of meditation, you're like, man, this just makes sense to add into your life. But so many people drop out because it's too hard or they don't like it or they're bored or all these other reasons. And I think it's because the process of meditation is poorly understood and what meditation is understood and the expectations of it are misunderstood. And getting beyond this to the point where people really take on a practice and go, okay, I'm going to take a couple of these practices, I'm going to test them out, and I'm going to do all of them, right? Or different ones of them. Or it's like the person who wants to exercise and they think the only exercise is running. It's like, well, the only exercise is lifting weights. It's like, you can also play soccer. You can also, go bowling. You can also play golf. There's a lot of ways to exercise, right? And it's the same with meditation. There's a lot of ways to meditate. And if people get stuck into one and they say they tested it out and they don't like it, just because, well, they tested one. It's like, well, you didn't like running, but that doesn't mean it's the only route. It doesn't mean it's the only exercise you can do. And there's so many benefits. Have a look around, see what there is. It's really worth it.